few weeks into practice. What are your thoughts so far, just on the team so far, this group so far this season?
Well, I think you can look at our group and you can see right now that maybe we have a couple of weight classes that you look at and you may be thinking, now, are we going to win matches at these two weight classes? And you have to win matches to be competitive in dual meets. And so there's still a couple of weight classes there that we need to build up, and we need to make sure that we recognize that it takes a real effort to win, to be competitive in dual meets. As we saw last year, when you're down one or two guys, it's hard to win dual meets. And so I think the one thing that we need to do is we need to just make sure we're developing our weights. I see you go through our lineup, and there's some uncertainty. You see some guys ranked anywhere from 10 to 20. I mean, that's where we can't be there. We got to be developing them into a position to be able to score points at the end if we're going to have some sort of success this season. So, I guess the theme for us right now is just let's develop. We got to develop guys. We got to go through a season. It's not gonna be the first weekend to figure out. It's going to be the whole season. Guys are going to have to prove, and we're going to have to continue to really a really important year that we develop, into a competitor that is successful at the end. And so that's our focus. That's my focus. Just we have to develop. I've gone through a lot of years and been in a lot of different positions with teams. This is a team that have no choice. We have to develop.
Coach, you had a couple of those guys that kind of struggled on bottom last year. Is there anything you guys have implemented at the early part of the season to kind of work on some of that?
That's a good. Yeah, we put a lot of energy in on the bottom, and it's not a matter. I mean, that's something that just can't happen this year. We go through a moment in time where you got a couple of people that's struggling getting off bottom, and you don't see any improvement. That's on us, as a staff. And so, not saying we won't see that, but we shouldn't be seeing it every week. And so those are things no different than getting takedowns, no different than getting taken down. We need to just make sure we're teaching and continuing to improve these guys with each week as we go through the season. It's probably an unusual schedule that you've seen. I mean, a little bit different than what you've seen in the past. Really competitive, and so with that, it gives us a chance to test ourselves against some better teams.
You talk about guys making those jumps and developing through the season. Who are some of those guys you can see making that early jump?
Well, you look at a few of the projected weights, and I don't want to really discuss who's going to be at what weight because we'll have ranking matches next Saturday and be closed to the public. But if anybody would like to go, they can just go through the office to see if there's some availability for them to go. Anyway. Let's wait and see who our lineup is. We likely are going to be young at a few weight classes. What I mean by young is 49, probably a young, whoever starts there. Possibility of 41 again, more than likely, and 65 right now is a little bit of uncertainty for us, and it's going to be real important that that weight class we find someone, whether we're bringing them up or pulling them down. We need to find something there that gives us some stability. I mean, I think that's 65 and possibly heavyweight right now may be one of those two weights that that we need some stability right now. And what do I mean by that? Somebody that's competitive, you know, somebody that's going to be a competitor each and every week, you know, not getting blown out. I mean, you know, I think Doucette's definitely for sure starter, and you know, for the most part, he's wrestled some pretty competitive matches in his career, you know, and so I'm looking for his first opportunities to step out and start for us.
You know, you talked about all season long about emphasizing guys being tougher. What have you seen from this team early on? And does that team fit the tough mold?
I see a little bit more maturity than I saw last year, you know, and just some reality setting in. I think that I think some of the younger guys that we have right now on the team are threatening. They're threatening, and they're a real threat, you know. And so I think they want to wrestle, they want to start, and there's some older guys at the weight class that maybe have started in the past. Better get going. Got some pretty good kids, you know, that are hoping to kind of break through the lineup. So the one thing I see different from last year is there's a little bit of a level of competition at several of the weights. You know, we're still pretty thin. I'd say I have 16 guys that could come in and out of the lineup in the month of November. You know, a lot of with some of the NCAA changes. That allows for somebody to step in the lineup as a true freshman and not burn his year. We could see a little bit of that. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, Coach, to your point, I know you usually don't like to burn red shirts, but I mean, how does a new rule, I mean, how much does a new rule benefit you guys?
You know, I think you know, we're still waiting to get some information on it and making sure that we're right as we're moving through the process. So I'm going to just leave it at that. Sure. Because there's still some things I want to know about it before we move further with it. And I think what we know about it is right, but we need to just make sure as we go forward.
I know you said you wanted to go through ranking matches before you have a lineup and stuff, but it sounds like some guys are going to be moving up or down weights. How have you seen those guys adjust to their new weights?
I think you're going to see Trevor Mastro Giovanni at 25. You're going to see Zach Blankenship at 25. 33, we pretty much know who it is. You know, 41, I believe it's a very highly competitive weight class for us. From a standpoint of who's ranking in the room, you know, the matches. 49, don't know which way it's going. I would say that, you know, Victor Voinovich has had some pretty good start, pretty consistent to this point from a standpoint of training and working. I mean, he's a freshman that I like the fact that he's doing a lot of things following practice. Sometimes he's the only one doing extra things following practice. So those are things that you like to see. 57, it could be a range of guys. Let's just say Sheets is back and gives him an opportunity. We do have G. Feller back. G. Feller won't wrestle probably, or even be in a position to wrestle until maybe the middle of December. So we won't see him anytime soon, unless it's at a weight class like 57 or 65. You know, he's an old goat that you know, that if we need to throw him out there to win a dual meet, we'll do that. Yeah, and so 65 is kind of an open weight. Just had plans for something different than what we're seeing. But as we finish some of our preseason workouts, just really felt like Travis Woodlake had the size that there was no need. I think part of some of our issues with him last year, maybe 65, has been something that he's kind of growing out of, and I'm not sure that some of the problems that his injuries wasn't caused by just making that weight each and every week. So we'll see him more than likely competing at 84 along with the Haas. 74 I think is a pretty good indication that who we have will be the same with Plot. 97 Cerberus come down, really is a real disciplined kid, and I'd like to. I thought it'd be a little bit more of a struggle for him, but really hasn't. I mean, just took 25 pounds off, and it was just too easy. You know, it should be a little harder than that. You know how hard it is for all of us to lose a little weight. You know, he just made it look way too easy. So he's felt it. You can see him in practice at times struggle a little bit because he's hitting new goals with his weight, and it's obviously lower. So as you hit those new goals and hadn't been down in 2 or 3 years, you feel it. But outside that, it's been a nice descent plan for him that he's done well. He's been eating good and keeping a good plan of keeping his hydration up and keeping food inside him.
Is Goodfellas, going back to G, is obviously having him back is kind of a pleasant surprise, but is he out due to injury, or is he out more for paternal duties?
You know, Caden G-Feller, 1 week after school started in August, he decided he wanted to wrestle again. And I'll just tell you this, he wasn't dieting over the summer. So maybe someday you can ask him. I'm not going to tell you what he weighed, but it was just a tad more than 149, I think. And so, you know, a lot of it is his weight, wherever he decides he's going to fall in, and so anyway, just he was a little bigger than he needed to be, and it reminded him how quickly that can happen. You know, so hopefully after this season he doesn't go back to the mistake he made. So I don't know.
You talked a little bit about Luke's transition 97. Was that something the staff and you and him sit down and decided, or was that kind of his idea, or how that all that kind of
You know, he came to me and said, you want me going 97, don't you? I basically said yes. He said, I'll go. I'll do it. It was that simple. You know, he just took the initiative to, you know, and that was pretty quick. You know, that wasn't something that took place in September. That's something that took place in July. You know, and so that's who he is. You know, he knew exactly what he needed to do for the team. It wasn't about him. It was about the team, and he took the initiative to come and say, "Is this what you want me to do?" And I said, "Yes," and it was done. You know, didn't have to call anybody, didn't have to have a sit down, didn't have to have meetings, and it was something he knew that it was going to be the best move for him, I think, as well as the team. So,
Where did that conversation take place?
right here, about where we're standing. I think we came in the door and he was leaving and I was coming in, and pretty simple, you know. And it was, you know, it was something that was going to take place, you know, maybe at the start of school, but he took the initiative to find out quickly what we needed to do. And so it took a lot of pressure off us, you know, after, you know, a scenario that wasn't sitting well with us.
I know you said it was a pretty pretty easy process for him, but you know, what difficulties may have been presented to him, and what did you plan helping him?
Well,
get
you know,
down?
you spend 2 years trying to build into a heavyweight, you know, and then all of a sudden, you know, I mean, what have I been doing for the last 2 years, you know? Trying to make sense of it all, right? You know, and so look, we're going to do the opposite of what we've been doing for the last 2 years. You eat 5 meals a day. Now it's cutting down. We're going the opposite way, you know, and so. But it's a good move for him, you know. I think that you know, in the end, I don't know where he could have got, but it just seemed like there was he had a different body than several guys that seemed to be able to put on the 40 pounds that you need. You know, it just seemed like his body was fighting that a little bit, especially towards the end of the year last year. You know, and you kind of know when you see what their intake has to be just to stay at 220. You know, and when you're seeing what we thought we saw last year, which we kind of knew, this is going to be hard. It's not going to be easy.
I thought Serber was kind of obviously you could see it when he against kind of who he wrestled. You know, he's more of a lower weight, heavyweight guy, but he was quick and twitchy. And do you see that translating down to 97 a little bit more than it did at heavyweight with Serber?
You know, we haven't seen him wrestle a whole lot at 97. You know, we haven't seen him wrestle. He gets to start off with a handful,
Best in
and
the
so
country.
yeah, and so you'll get a chance. I don't think we're going to judge him by that. Whatever, win or lose, feel good where he's at. And I think there's going to be a level of development that needs to take place. He's going to find out it's probably a faster pace at 97. People are going to shoot more, you know, and he's also going to feel a different feel when he gets to a leg. It's like, you know, I'm not pulling in somebody that's 15 pounds bigger than me, 20 pounds bigger than me. I'm pulling in the same weight class, the same leg, you know, and so several things that'll change and feel, you know, just kind of remember that, you know, you're going to feel different style definitely, and lot quicker weight class.
How's Whitlake's progression up in weight going?
I see him with a good attitude. I see him pretty positive. You know, now can he wrestle that weight class? I don't know. We'll find out. You better get tough. You know, I mean, you know, it's going to be tough weight, tough time. And you know, you're strong. You're a big, strong kid. I mean, he's strong. He's coming in weighing in the 90s right now. You know, it's not like he's. And so, you know, just make sure that if you become the starter, just be ready for what's expected, you know. And I'll tell you, Kai Hoff has done a nice job, you know, developing the last year, and we're in pretty good shape at the weight.
Okay, Coach, this question's kind of off topic, but I know you've been at the peak of your sport for a while, but I'm just curious, you know, you've won multiple Olympic medals, but I'm just curious, what's it like to see your nephew, JT, in the World Series?
Yeah, you know, I'm happy for him. I know it's his whole life, that's what he's thought about. I think, you know, he was a multi-sport athlete growing up. Wrestled, played basketball, played baseball, played football. I might be missing one, I don't know. It's just, you know, what I'm proud of is just he seems to be a real leader, and his attitude and his demeanor really seems to have made a difference for his team. You know, I love his comments that he makes. It seems to always have a sound that goes towards us, we, you know, not me. And so I think he's played a huge role in helping his team get there, you know. So I'm excited for him. You know.
I know it's a big. I know it's a big deal. Are there any like plans of a Smith family watch party or
Oh,
anything like that?
are you kidding me? I've watched more baseball literally in the last 2.5 weeks than I think I've watched in the last 57 years. This is what he's always wanted to be, and I've become a real learned a lot about the game. Watching the last several weeks. And really I have a appreciation some of the talent, man, that you see when some of these guys get up to bat and going, these guys are special, wow. So anyway, I always follow JT during the season just by stats, see where his batting average is, how he's doing. I don't get to watch many games, but I have in the last 2 weeks. I've made a point to enjoy watching Philadelphia make a run to the World Series.
I'll be honest, did you see the Phillies making it this far?
Huh?
Did you see the Phillies making it this far?
You look at the middle of the season, like I said, I follow Jake. I follow his team, from the standpoint of looking at stats. No, it didn't look good. They made some changes in the middle of the season, and it seemed like the team kind of rallied around those changes. And I saw looked like some really classy leadership that seemed to probably make the difference. You don't know, but I do know that it's kind of like us, you always want to, your postseason's more important than anything, right? And you always want to be at your best in postseason. You want to do better at the at the Olympics than you did at trying to make the Olympics. You want to do better at the World Series than you did during the regular season. So I guess you see a team playing better than it's ever played all year.
So I want
Pretty cool.
to ask you about cardio. One of the things he emphasized last year was get better on ball. Have you seen that improvement from him? Just this season?
I've had. I think I've been mad at him probably about 10 times this season already. I quit talking to him for about 7 days because I needed a break from him. He's working there. I need his focus a little bit more on how bad he wants to win. How bad do you want to win? He's got a lot of ability to make a difference for our team this year, and he's got a lot to give still on the mat that he needs to give. And so I think that the last couple of weeks with our relationship, finally getting back to where we're talking again, I think he understands what I want. I need more. I need more, right? I need more. I want you to throw your headgear sometime because you're just mad because you're not having a good practice. Something, right? He's got a great smile. He's got I thought it might have been his mother.
She walked past her.
Oh,
Yeah, she's already gone.
I want to make sure she's a great woman. And the things I'm talking about more is what I'm seeing out of you. Just a level of grit. I want a little bit more. I want some fight in you. He works hard and he does a lot of things. But that's what we're going to need for him to be successful at the weight.
What have you seen from Dayton since he missed the World Team this summer, and what's kind of going from there?
I think there's some opportunities that's happened for him in the last couple of weeks. Just stay focused on your wrestling. And I think we all know enough about Dayton, that listen, this is a tough weight class, as he knows. He appreciates He appreciates the challenges, and I don't think he ever underestimates that. Hey, okay, I've made it to the finals. You know, I think he recognizes, hey, I'm going to have to get better to make sure that I make a run at the championship. You know, and so. You know, it's about having your best performances at the right time, and so I don't think he has struggled a little bit, and that's still there to get done. You know, we still have these opportunities to get it done, and so it's hard for me to be critical with him, but I'd like to see him a little bit more offensive against his opponents that seem to have a little bit of know a little bit more about him or know how to defend him a little bit better. You know, that's when we're tested, right? I mean, that's the difference in if you're going to become one of the greatest wrestlers in the world, right? Is that when those guys that make it tough, you're still scoring on them. There's still a level. I mean, and so. That's something you learn over time. It's not something that's given to you, and it usually don't come when you're young. You know, it usually comes somewhere in your career where you're just determined that I can score against anyone at any time, not at any time, excuse me, against anyone when I have to, you know. And so those are the things that I think we need to continue to build his confidence towards. You know, and some of his losses, you know, which is a few, those are the kind of situations that seems that he got into. I need to score, you know, or I need to keep an opponent from scoring. Listen, you can't get to my legs. I can't let you score, you know. You know, and somewhere you find that level, you know, through your training and through your workouts and through your experience. And for him, he's gaining enough experience that I think it's important that he makes that level change.
You talked a little bit about the schedule being sort of a little bit tougher this year.
Tougher, and then the wrestling in Iowa 3 times. I mean, listen, that's just a situation that COVID put us in, you know, and that we got to get ourselves out of. You know, and I tried really hard to convince Iowa State to come here, Northern Iowa, you know, where we have 2 matches. We'd have 2 matches away every year and 2 matches at home every year. Nobody would budge, you know, and that scenario where we're wrestling Iowa, the 3 schools, Northern Iowa, Iowa State, and Iowa this year, it's because of COVID. We skipped a match, and when we skipped a match, we had to go back that year, and so that's where we're at. But that can't exist in the future. So either we're going to have to give in next year and might have to go back to Iowa State next year or something. You know, I don't know. It just odd. You know. Going back to Texas.
Is that with Michigan?
Yeah.
Okay. Where's that going to be?
Same place.
Out at the ballpark?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is it TBA?
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't say.
That's what it says on the schedule. You might have just broke the news to everybody else.
Was I not supposed to tell him? Hell, I didn't know.
Wow.
Well, now you know. Somebody needs to tell me.
Everybody knows, sir.
Okay. Anyway,
But that's last year's national runner-up. I mean, that's a good deal.
yeah. And so, for a team of uncertainty, a little bit right now for us, pretty tough schedule. You know, so we have to develop. You know, winning dual meets are important to us. They always have been. You know, it's people. We build our fan base by dual meets, and we always have. You know, and you build your fan base by winning dual meets. at home.
Coach, yeah, I asked Dayton about this 2 weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago at the obviously it's big in football, it's big in basketball. How do you see the transformation of NIL? Is it
Of
getting
what?
there? NIL. Is it making its way in wrestling? Is it getting there?
Yeah, it's here. Yeah. I mean, it's here. Now, do I care for it? No. Seems like there's athletics has become so much more important than anything else. It just seems like there's things that off balance a little bit, you know. What our purpose, what all of our purpose are here for, you know. And somebody might think differently. I don't know. Is it going to change? I'm sure that there's be some tweaks as we go forward from here. So we're going to have to deal with it, and we're going to have to accept it, you know. It's here.
How's it affected things?
In wrestling, I got a few guys that have got NILs. Dayton's got several of them, you know, and I think for my guys, I think they're handling pretty well. It's not so much that it can get them off, out of whack. You know, it's not that kind of money, but it's something that's making a little difference in their life, and it's just, you know, they're already getting quite a bit of with the Alston money, you know, that came out, and so, you know, I look at things like 30 years ago, even 35, 38 years ago when I wrestled. It's just wow, what a difference, you know. There's kind of taken away from that, taken away that struggle you have sometimes in college to pay your bills and do some of those things that gives you a little stress, and yet you still have to compete and you still have to get ready to wrestle, and you know, and you're running around trying to maybe do some extra things to pay rent. Seems like those days are over.
Do you think that would have helped you or hurt you back then?
I didn't need money. I've never done good for money. Yeah, I seem to do better without money.